El Salvador has consented to house rough U.S. hoodlums and get deportees of any ethnicity, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio declared Monday, in a phenomenal, and lawfully risky arrangement, that has frightened pundits and privileges gatherings. Rubio uncovered the understanding subsequent to meeting with Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele, as a feature of a visit through a few focal American nations planned to solidify territorial help for the Trump Organization's movement strategy. In a demonstration of remarkable fellowship to our nation, El Salvador has consented to the most exceptional and phenomenal transitory arrangement anyplace on the planet, Rubio told correspondents Monday. The nation will keep tolerating Salvadoran deportees who unlawfully entered the U.S., he said. It will likewise acknowledge for extradition any displaced person in the U.S. who is a criminal from any ethnicity, be they MS-13 or Tren de Aragua, and house them in his correctional facilities, he said, alluding to two famous transnational groups with individuals from El Salvador and Venezuela. Likewise, Bukele has proposed to house in his prisons risky American lawbreakers in guardianship in our nation, including any among U.S. citizenship and legitimate occupants, Rubio said. It is hazy whether the U.S. government will take up the deal, be that as it may, with inquiries around the lawfulness of such moves. Any work by the Trump Organization to expel imprisoned U.S. nationals to another nation would confront critical lawful pushback. The U.S. is totally disallowed from expelling U.S. residents, regardless of whether they are detained, Letty Volpe, a regulation teacher at UC Berkeley who has practical experience in migration regulation and citizenship hypothesis, told CNN over email. Bukele later affirmed the concurrence with Rubio on X, saying in a post, "We will take in just sentenced hoodlums, counting indicted U.S. residents, into our super jail, CECOT, in return for an expense." El Salvador's Illegal Intimidation Repression Center, generally alluded to as CECOT, is the nation's biggest and most up-to-date jail, with a greatest limit of 40,000 detainees. The expense would be somewhat low for the U.S. however critical for us, making our whole jail framework feasible, he added. Bukele has been credited with significantly decreasing PAC's savagery in the focal American country since sending off a general crackdown in 2022 that has seen in excess of 81,000 individuals imprisoned. In any case, while the country's crime percentage has fallen, the treatment of those detained has set off shock among common liberties associations who consider El Salvador's penitentiaries cold-hearted. The Express Office's tourism warning for El Salvador additionally cautions that those detained in the nation face brutal jail conditions, without admittance to fair treatment. Stuffing is a serious danger to detainees' well-being and lives, the warning says. In numerous offices, arrangements for sterilization, consumable water, ventilation, temperature control, and lighting are lacking or non-existent. Those inside the Trump Organization and the president's partners have rushed to laud the declaration, with Elon Musk considering it a extraordinary thought, in a post on X. Yet, privileges bunches censured the understanding, and pundits cautioned that such an arrangement could be important for vote-based breaking faith. A noticeable Latino support bunch said it was a miserable day for America, in an explanation to CNN following the declaration Monday. Roman Palomares, public president and executive of the leading body of the class of joined Latin American residents, LULAC, said the gathering goes against dealing with expelled non-criminal travelers like cows who can be moved starting with one country then on to the next regardless of their home of beginning. Addressing CNN before the declaration, Emerson school teacher Nisha Gelman said the U.S. was basically proposing to send individuals to a country that isn't the nation of beginning nor is it fundamentally the country that they went through. It is a strange and extraordinary proposition being made possibly between two libertarian, traditional pioneers looking for a value-based relationship, said Gelman, a global legislative issues researcher. It's not established in that frame of mind of legitimate arrangement and reasonable disregards various global regulations connecting with the freedoms of transients. Manuel Flores, General Secretary of El Salvador's radical Farabundo Martí Public Freedom Front Party, additionally denounced the continue on Monday. What are we? Terraces, front yards, or landfills, he said at a public interview, alluding to both El Salvador and other focal American nations getting transients ousted by the US. Bukele's tremendous and rough crackdown on PACs has acquired adoration from the Trump Organization, which has designated both MS-13 and Tren de Aragua in late assaults. Trump has more than once guaranteed without proof that vicious transnational posses were assuming control over American urban communities, involving the two PACs as a continuous idea to legitimize hardline movement strategies and line security. The president marked a leader request last month explicitly naming MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, referring to their missions of brutality and fear in the US and globally as dangers to the steadiness of the worldwide request in the western side of the equator. The orders incorporated a proposal that the State Division start the method involved with assigning Tren de Aragua as an unfamiliar fear-monger association. On Friday, the U.S. Exceptional Agent for Latin America Mauricio Claver Carone alluded to the understanding between the U.S. and El Salvador, saying Tren de Aragua individuals will need to return to Venezuela instead of imparting the jail to the Salvadorian PACs like MS-13. It's essential for what we need to talk about and how President Bukele can help us. The move comes in the midst of a quick migration crackdown, with wide areas of the central government prepared to capture and confine undocumented outsiders in the U.S., and to strip securities for travelers currently in the country. The understanding depicted by Rubio and Bukele for El Salvador to permit the U.S. to send refuge searchers who are not Salvadoran to El Salvador is known as a protected third nation arrangement. Trump has undermined activity against countries that won't acknowledge trips of their nationals coming from the U.S., and momentarily strolled back from the edge of a harming exchange battle with Colombia over the repatriations. On Friday, Trump said Venezuela had consented to get Venezuelan deportees including gangsters, a change in strategy after the country's leader Nicolas Maduro had likewise recently wouldn't take Venezuelan nationals back. The U.S. had additionally for the most part been not able to send Venezuelans back because of chilly relations. The declaration came as Richard Grenell, the White House agent for unique missions, met with Maduro in Caracas, prominent since Washington doesn't formally acknowledge Maduro's administration, with resistance pioneers blaming the strongman chief for taking last year's races. The Trump Organization has likewise pushed ahead in eliminating securities for 348,000 Venezuelans previously dwelling in the U.S., repudiating an impermanent safeguarded status that protected Venezuelans from extradition and permitted them to stay in the U.S. with work licenses.